Hey, what's up everybody? Wes here with another video. We've got this F550 here. It's an XL version and it's got a switch and go system on here. This is the removable dump bed, and I want to show you guys a little bit of an overview on it, how it operates and how it can benefit you. It's an awesome tool. We use it here a lot for metal trailers. Again, this is the switch and go 12E hoist system, and this thing, depending on your truck, has a maximum rating. This one here is 12,000 pounds max. With the GVR of this truck and the weight of this trailer back here, it'll hold about 8,000 pounds or 4 tons. But basically, we're going to use this powerful winch to winch up the trailer, the body, onto the truck itself. You just use this simple controller. It's got the hoist and the winch, and this is going to be everything you need to get the bed onto the truck. So we're going to start off here in hoist mode, and basically that's going to hoist the lift straight up into the air. And what you want to do is try to angle it definitely above the cab of the truck is what I usually shoot for. Some people say it's got to be a little bit higher than that to match that pitch of your actual trailer, which is actually pretty high up. But either way, you just kind of get it angled up, and then you'll have your tow hook back here on the other end of your winch. Here's the rollers that we're going to line up on our trailer. They just want to hit here and here. When we back up, we're going to line up to these. Now, as far as a little bit of maintenance goes, all these rollers that you see here actually have a grease fitting in the middle, so you want to make sure you keep these lubed up really well. There's a lot of weight coming on these, so it's a simple thing just to keep track of, make sure everything's operating properly. But again, once everything's lifted up and you're ready to go, and everything's clear, you just back up, and then those two rollers I showed you earlier, you just want to line those right up with your rails. And I like to give it a little bit of a bump and just make sure that everything is right up against the trailer square, just like you see here. Here's our first bumper, our roller. It's right on this rail, and then the second one's pretty close. It'll pull up as long as you're basically touching equally. But then we've got our winch here with our longer cable. There's a little bit too much slack in this, but either way, we're still going to go ahead and unhook it and get that attached to the trailer. This is a good place I like to store them, but you just unhook right here from the shackle, and then right up underneath your switch and go trailer, you're going to find this little part right here. You just hook it right in, and you're good to go. But we can't just start reeling it. If we start reeling it, the winch itself has got way too much slack in it. So what I like to do is go ahead and pull the truck forward, and then that's going to pull the slack out. But just be careful that you don't alter the angle. Pull straight forward, and as you see here, here's the load of metal we're going to be dropping off. I'll show you how I unload this, and it's going to be super simple. So we pulled the truck up a little bit, got all the slack out of the line, and we didn't move our angle at all. So what we're going to do is come back to the cab and pick up our control panel here, and now instead of being on hoist, we're going to go to winch, and then we're just going to pull the winch up. So I'm going to hold this down, and you're going to see this thing in action. Again, I'm guessing this thing's at least a couple of tons, maybe even 1.5 tons. I'll see once we get this dropped off. We'll have the final weight ticket, but you can hear the winch has actually got a little bit of a strain to it. So what I like to do is pull this dump bed up and get it all the way up onto our switch and go system. And then once the rear wheels of the dump bed come off the ground, I like to lay it down because this is a pretty steep angle. Some people recommend inclining your angle as steep as that first rail that you see slanted there, which is actually really steep, but this seems to work out well for me. Just keep everything greased up. If you see the dump bed start to lift up a little bit like you see here off the rails, just take your hoist and hoist it a little bit higher. So that's probably actually our ideal height. And this is going to vary from truck to truck, setup to setup, and depending on the bed that you have as well. But either way, we're going to go ahead and continue pulling this up. And just as we get these wheels on the back off the ground, like I said a moment ago, we're going to go ahead and lay this down. And this is going to take a lot of the strain off of this whole system itself, make it last a lot longer for you, instead of just pulling this entire weight straight up into the air. It's going to make it easier on your winch as well, but don't go all the way down. This hook right here is our safety latch, and you'll see if it goes all the way down to the frame, this little part here is going to make it to where it's not going to be able to lock in properly. So just get it close enough. That's going to definitely save the strain on your winch and on your setup. And then go ahead and pull this dump bed body all the way on with your winch here until everything links up into the hook, just like you see here. And once it's hooked into place, just drop it the extra couple of inches, and that's going to lock it into place. So now we're all set up and we're good to go. So the dump bed body is off the ground on the truck. Again, this is our switch and go system. Here's a rear shot of it and just kind of an overall look at it. It's a super cool setup, very useful. You could even use this if you're starting your own trash business. But again, we're just using it primarily for metal. And I've got this thing already transported over to our local metal iron company. And we're going to find us a place to get this thing backed in and dumped out. I'll show you the dumping out. Basically, we're just going to back in, get our gate open, and get it dumped. So watch out for this guy. The first thing on these trailers is a pin here, a little safety pin. Make sure you have this in place. Some people don't utilize it, but I always do. So unhook that, unhook your safety chain so that our bed can actually swing around, or tailgate rather, and then unlatch it. Now, one thing I've noticed, these tailgates are very long, longer than they seem like, so make sure if you're backing up to something, you have enough clearance. I've definitely came close a few times on a few objects. We came pretty close to that junk car there, but we'll swing it all the way around, and there's this nifty little latch right here. We're going to take our chain and put it right back into place. That way when we lift up to dump the bed, it's not going to come slapping around the front, causing all kinds of issues. So we're all safely chained up and ready to go. We're just going to go back to our hoist and put it in the up position, and we're just going to run this thing straight up until all the metal starts to fall out. And once everything starts to fall out, I usually give it another extra few inches just to make sure the angle's enough for everything to slide, and then we're going to go ahead and pull it up. But I'll let you check this part out here. It's pretty cool. Alright, so everything's falling out pretty good, and just to make sure, like I said, just give it a couple inches there, hop back in your truck, and then now we're going to go ahead and shut our door and put it in drive. And we're just going to drive off with it just for a few feet here. Everything should fall out nicely. Again, this is a flat bottom truck bed, so there's really nothing holding this metal on there unless you just got things strapped up, but everything's laying in here loose. So here's our pile. Everything's laying on the ground. They can grab it. Nothing left on the trailer. And we'll go ahead and just reverse the whole process. Just come back in here and get your control module and take your hoist down and just lower this thing all the way back down to the ground. Now I did speed that segment up just a little bit, as you can see, but it really doesn't take that long to get this thing up and down. So what I like to do now is go ahead and pull up out of the way just a little bit and then revisit my tailgate. That way I'm not hitting the metal I just dumped and I'm getting out of everybody's way. Again, this is pretty close to this dirt pile here. I've always came close to these tailgates. They're always longer than what you remember. But you'll just go ahead and bring it back around and get it close to your latch here. The first thing you're going to do, again, we're going to do the reverse process, is get this thing pulled up here and latch it back into place with the main lever here. It's kind of tricky to do while you're filming. So we're latched in, and then we're going to go ahead and take our safety pin, get that back in place so it can't come unhooked on this side, and then take your safety chain on your tailgate just in case something was to happen. You always want to make sure that this is in place, and that way you just have that extra bit of fail-safe in case anything was to come open. You don't want this to come open on the road and dump on anybody. So here's our weight, 3120. So yeah, we were about a ton and a half, like I was thinking. So now another useful feature of this truck is it's got a reverse camera on your mirror, something I didn't realize when we first got this, but this is really just a great overall setup. When you're getting ready to unload these things, you'll also want to make sure that you have a clear area, make sure there's no gravel, because these wheels right here, if you hit a big chunk of gravel or even a smaller piece, sometimes 3/4 inch will hold this up and keep it from wanting to slide properly. But either way, we're all set up and ready to go, so we're just going to go ahead and reverse the process once more. Take the hoist all the way up to the same angle that we had when we loaded it, and then once we get it up to where we want it, we're just going to slide this bed right off the back, and it's going to go ahead and be ready to dismount. Make sure you've got proper overhead clearance. We're in a big enough bay here where it's not going to really be that big of an issue. And here's kind of a side shot of about how high I get it. I meant to do that earlier, but so we're coming considerably higher than the cab. So we get it at that proper angle, and then we're going to switch it down to winch mode to activate the winch, and we'll just begin letting this trailer slide off the back here. As long as we don't hit any snags, everything should just roll properly once it hits the ground. There was a little bit of gravel laying there, but it wasn't anything substantial enough where it should hold this trailer. This trailer itself is probably just over a ton itself. I think it weighs somewhere around, it might even be closer to 3 tons. I'll double check that and try to put it in the comments. I think it was somewhere around 2,800 pounds. So definitely a big trailer. This is heavy duty enough to where you could haul trash, metal, dirt, anything really that you needed, because we had a pretty good size load on here. But what I like to do now, once I've got it on the ground, I'll go ahead and pull forward a little bit and keep letting the winch out. That way I give myself a little bit of slack to work with. and once I pulled forward, I'll put it in reverse and back it up just slightly, and then pop it into park. And basically that's going to stretch the cable out and then give me just enough slack to come back over here and reach back under and get it unhooked. And be careful of this thing, it's always got a lot of grease on it. If you're messing with these and you're greasing it properly, you're pretty much always going to get some amount of grease on you. But then just go ahead and hook it back onto the shackle, and then you're basically dismounted and disconnected from your dump body. And the last thing you want to do is just come back over here and lay everything back down. So it's a super simple process. It's something I learned pretty quickly. I think anybody could, with a little bit of instruction, or maybe even just watching this video, could accomplish this same task. You just want to be careful, maintain your equipment, keep everything greased, make sure that there's no slack in your winch by keeping everything tight when you're loading it, and then keep everything as dry as possible. You don't want to leave these out in the rain for an extended period of time. But it's a very solid truck. I definitely recommend it. Here's a quick shot of the engine. Again, this is a 2019 F550 XL. It's been super solid for us. We use it for all kinds of equipment. The tires we have on here are a Conti Hybrid SH3, and the sizes on these are 225 70R 19.5. So it's got the locking hubs on the front, but it's also got the gear shifter inside where you can shift it into four-wheel drive. Here's our heavy-duty suspension. It's got plenty of clearance, more than we've ever really needed. I've had it in some pretty sketchy places. And then we got our sideboards here. Definitely pretty beneficial for getting in and out. Our new Northern toolbox. This is a perfect spot to throw in anything that you might need, your straps, chains, additional oil. I think we got some water in there, just whatever you might need. And here's our rear end. We've got the same tires on here as the front. These are the 225/70 R19.5s, and they don't look like that much, but they definitely are good tires. Here's a quick shot of the winch itself. And here's the trailer and the model number, just in case that's something that you're interested in. This is the switch and go system. Definitely recommend these. I mean, I can't say enough good things about them. We have a couple of these trailers, and so far the only thing I've noticed is maybe just a little bit of rusting inside, but we have really abused it. Here's some grease fittings on the side. And the truck itself, it just got a really good overall feel. It's got plenty of room. I'm 6'6", so I'm definitely on the taller end of the spectrum, and I fit in here perfectly without any major adjustments. So it's definitely clean, roomy. I mean, Ford doesn't change a whole lot about their trucks. They don't really need to. It's a good setup, just like any other F250s Plus that you've seen. But again, you can see here the leg room I've got, and I'm not even really screwed all the way back. I could be back just a little bit further than what I am currently. There's also plenty of switches here, aux switches. We have a lot of strobe lights and things like that set up here for our needs. But again, this is the F550 Super Duty. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is something a little bit different than what I usually do. This was just something that I had available to show you that I thought you might enjoy. And if you have any questions about it, definitely let me know. I'm using this equipment quite frequently, so I could likely give you a quick answer. But if you enjoyed the video, hope you consider subscribing. Click like, click subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next video. Alright, peace.